Welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. I'm Rebecca Powers. Your business is growing. You are booming. We get so many emails with wonderful questions. A lot of the emails we get in questions, I call him the professor because he teaches thousands of families how to retire, and you've been an educator and a preacher. You've done it all. But most people write in and ask about the risks of retirement, and you call them the hidden risks of retirement. So let's focus on that today.
Right. If you turn on your news station, whether you turn on channel 40 or channel 41, and you know which way I'm leaning there, you could go either way. Or if you're really leaning and you go 42 or 43 to get yours, at least on my cable, okay, you're going to find out about market risk. They're going to talk about the ups and downs of the market. They're going to talk about inflation, all over inflation, but they're going to talk about inflation as just a number, and a lot of people don't know how to correlate inflation risk with all of the other things that are out there. And then, you know, there's a lot of scary things out there. I mean, here's an article of just in the past weeks or so, we've begun to see banks fail, and some have failed and some have gotten rescued by the government, for lack of a better word that might be more appropriate, and then some have been rescued by other banks. But it's pretty scary when you start hearing comments on the news or on the internet about runs on the bank, because if you know anything about history, the last time we talked about hearing something like that, unless you watched It's the Wonderful Life and the Bailey Savings and Loan, where they made a run on the Bailey Savings and Loan, and that great movie was back during the Depression, and we know what happened to banks during the Depression. We also know, just to give you a little bit of contentment, that the government is backing up investors up to $250,000, or in some of the banks that are closing, if they're the right banks and they loan money to the right people, it seems they'll also insure all the depositors up to any amount. My question on that, Rebecca, is how safe is that? Because could the government, that's us, and they tell us it's not costing us any money, but my question is, how long can we do that? How long can we rescue banks if that continues? So hopefully the dominoes were spaced a little bit too far out and only 2 or 3 fell, and it won't just kick off a chain of other dominoes falling through the bank system. But there are a lot of risk out there to retirement. And so there's some you hear about and there's some you don't hear about. And in this program, I want to look at some hidden risk to retirement. Now, you may think this is sort of counterintuitive, but longevity, living a long time, is counterintuitive. It's a risk to your portfolio, particularly when it comes to inflation. Now, our grandparents and great-grandparents didn't have to deal with this. When they started Social Security in 1934 and 1935, you could get Social Security at age 62, and the average age of the American male was 61 years and 8 months. So by the time you got to Social Security, longevity, nobody ever sat around and say, what if you live too long?
Right.
Because people just didn't live that long. I mean, sometimes they did, and we've got that exception of people living forever and ever and ever, but most of the time, on the average, maybe the world wars helped that average go down a little bit, but people just didn't live that long. But now there's a legitimate concern about running out of money. Now, inflation, let's talk about that. We are now entering, or about to enter, our second year of inflation. And if you'll remember, when they give the inflation totals and amounts and they say it's up 6% or it's up 7%, it's always year over year. So we floated along for 40 years or so, maybe more, at 2 or 3% inflation, 2.75 if you want to get real technical, average inflation for 40 years. And then last year we began to jump 8%, 9% a couple of months, back down to settling now around 6%. But we're about to lap around to where we were last year when we started that jump. So if we had a 6% jump last year and we have a 6% jump this year, then if you go back 2 years and you have a budget and you have a spending plan in retirement and you think, well, I think we're okay because we've got things covered in this spending plan. Most of those spending plans, particularly if you use the big box model, the Monte Carlo model, most of those spending plans were based on 3% inflation.
Wow.
Well, what's that done for you the last 2 years?
Right.
When it jumps to 6 and then it goes 6 again, so instead of 3 and 3 being 6% total, you're 6 and 6 and now you're at a 12% total. And the sad thing about inflation is it's usually a lock-in deal. Prices don't bump up generally unless it's just one industry. But when it's across industries like this, it bumps up and it stays up.
Right.
And that becomes then the norm. For instance, if we're up 6% right now, they're only talking about the norm of last year when it was up 6% as well. Now let me bring it home to you. If you've got a budget for retirement, living longer because of inflation can jeopardize the plan that you have. Or if you don't have a plan and your plan is just the hope process, put all your money into the market how you've always had it, do things the way you did when you were 25 years old and hope it lasts, which I don't think is a really great strategy because you don't address real retirement issues. But if you're in the hope strategy and and we got a double whammy. We've also got market downturns right now. So if you're having to take out, let's imagine, 12% more to make the budget, but yet your investments are down 25% as the market has been down since January 1st of 2022 to this time, this area of time that we're in. So you're taking out 12% more and it's at a 25% devalued takeout. So your retirement hope plan could really be in jeopardy right now. And as you live through time and time and time again, I mean, I look at all the downturns we have, and what are your options? Say, Tom, give me some hope. Well, really, they aren't really great. I mean, you can die sooner, which is not really a great thing. You can spend less. If you're still working, you can work longer, or you can go back and get another job. Or if you are planning on retirement, you can just extend that. And these are real things that you need to consider. Yeah. Extended it by working a little bit more. Most people at the end of their work life are making more money than they've ever made before. So why walk away from a job for an uncertain hope plan if your plan is just to keep your money invested in the market and hope it does well? Oh, the market will always come back. Right. And the market's always been good to me. Market's been very good to me, you know, okay? Well, it's been very good to you because you've been accumulating. And when the market goes down, you're buying cheaper.
Exactly.
But when the market's down 25%, you're having to take out 12% more. That's not a good plan for success. You need to build some structure to your retirement plan so that longevity, even with inflation, which I personally feel we're going to have to live with inflation for a while.
And it's definitely higher than what they're saying.
It's higher for people in retirement. Yeah. Because people in retirement go on cruises. Cruises are up 43 to 44% the last time I checked. They're up higher. People go on vacation and they fly. Look at airline flights and how they've escalated. So the things that you do in retirement, your personal inflation number could be far higher than the regular inflation number. If you stay at home and watch Western movies on channel 607, you're in good shape because you don't spend any money anyway. Beer's a little higher. You go down to the 7-Eleven, buy the case of beer and lottery tickets and come back. Okay, that's fine. But if you're really enjoying the go-go years of retirement, you need somebody to look at your situation and say, longevity is not going to be an issue because we can build in and structure this so income is addressed, inflation is addressed, your investments, your taxes are addressed. That's a retirement blueprint. That's what every one of our 6 advisors help clients who call in build. And we start with a blank piece of paper because your situation is different than anyone else's. But to get started, you've got to call in. If anything I've said, you say, well, wait, I'd like to check that out. Because my guy just talks about what he's made this year over last year. The lady we're working with, they just are looking for gains every year. That's great. But you need to build some structure to a plan if you're going to beat inflation over a long period of time. Give us a call.
Yeah, you do not want to live on a hope and a prayer. That's like going to the casino. You need structure. If you have not had these conversations with your current financial planner, why not a second look? You can't get the second opinion from the person who gave you the first. There's the number again, 866-709-1462. Call during this broadcast so we can get you on the books. We'll be right back. More with Tom Mosley and how you can retire right on the money.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you. As you can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion...
Ben? Ben? Do you have anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back. We're talking about risks that affect your retirement, and we talked about inflation, which we can all agree is higher than what they're actually telling us. But let's talk about market risks. Longevity is the other risk, and you don't want to live too long. People are actually more scared to outlive their money than death itself. So what about the market risks? Because it fluctuates so much. How do you plan for retirement?
I remember one time I was at Kings Island Amusement Park in Ohio. I used to be a youth director in a previous life, and I would actually go around to different amusement parks and speak. The churches would bring their kids in and I would speak. And then I was a youth director myself, so I went to every amusement park in America. Was my goal to go and ride every roller coaster. And one time one of my kids said, "Tom," they called me Tommy back then because it was in the South. They said, "You're the king of roller coasters," all right? And I was. I loved roller coasters. And then about 15 or 20 years ago, we took our kids to Knott's Berry Farm, and they've got this ride called Montezuma's Revenge. My wife and I rode Montezuma's Revenge, and we both agreed at the same time, hey, husbands and wives, it is possible. We both agreed at the same time that we had graduated to the point where we were too old for roller coasters. Hey, most of us, when we're in retirement, we're just too old for market roller coasters. Now, you think about what the market does. It used to be that you looked for what the market did from year to year. And then we started watching it from month to month. And then they started becoming real popular to watch it from week to week. And now you can watch it from day to day. I mean, sometimes it's funny on my little iPhone, it'll come out and it'll say, the market is 300 points up. And then I look at it and some announcement was made or some news article came out and the market's 400 down. And it's made a transition from 300 up to 400 down. The biggest one ever was about 4 months ago. The market went from 700 down in the morning to 1,400 up in the afternoon.
Double.
So you're talking about a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's there. Now, if I'm saving for retirement, it's not an issue. When it's low, I buy. I pile into it. And a lot of people have come to us this year and they've called us or on the phone from the TV show or the radio show. And they've called us and they've come in and they've said, you know, the market's so up and down. They're 30 years old or 40 years old. And if you're 30 or 40 and you're worried about the market being up or down, don't.
Right.
Forget about it. It means nothing to you. In fact, when the market's down, buy more into your 401k. Put as much into it as you can because you're at the bottom, lowest priced point, and it's going to go back up again. Historically, at least, it always has. But when you're in retirement, you're taking out money. So in that roller coaster, that's great to take out here, but if you have to take out money when the market is down here, it's not nearly as advantageous. It's not nearly as good. Now I wonder what the market's doing, and I think about my 2-year-old granddaughter and my 6-year-old granddaughter. It's hard to reason with somebody that age because, you know, sometimes, particularly my 6-year-old granddaughter, she's able to communicate and reason, and then about 8 o'clock at night, we watch them every Friday, about 8 o'clock at night, my wife calls it, Coco just expired. You know what I'm saying? And she's done. And
she's out.
She can start screaming and yelling, and she's not in her right mind because she's so tired.
So tired.
She's so exhausted. Well, the market does that to us sometimes.
That's right.
It doesn't do anything rational. So if you've got what we talked about in that first section, if you're working with somebody who's just pretty much got you in a hope strategy, or you're in your 401k, and in a hope strategy in a 401k is like, I'm in a 20-25 target fund. That just means they're putting 60% in the stock market, 40% into bonds. And last year, congratulations, you were down 20% on both sides of that. So that's not a good even hope strategy. A hope strategy, you got to have some shred that this might work out, that this might be positive. So that's a 401k. But if you're working with a big box firm who I find exceptionally lazy, because they even say we hate different investments that you could get involved in. Some investments that are major pieces of a real retirement plan that people, when they get them, they love. It's like people tell us sometimes when I go other places, where are you from? California. I hate California. Boy, it's so terrible out there. This got these, and there's some problems. We have problems, okay? They do too. But we have problems in California. And then I get around to asking them, have you ever been to California? No, but I've heard about it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people have heard about things that they never want to be in. Why? Because I heard about that. Well, who are you listening to? What are you doing? Are you working with a professional? Or I always like to say, are you working with Bob the plumber or Dave at the water fountain?
Yeah.
Whose situation may be entirely different from you. You need to beware of the market because the market's going to have roller coasters. You say, Tom, how do you stop? You must have a pill to take all the market risk out. No, there is no pill. There's nothing we're going to do to tame the market or control the market, just like a 6-year-old throwing a tantrum on the floor. There's really nothing you can do except stay out of the way of the arms and the legs.
Yeah, exactly, and you prepare for it.
You prepare for it, and you prepare for it by building structure. That's what we do when we build a retirement blueprint. We start from the ground up with what you have. We call it the lumberyard you've collected. That's what the market will build for you, a lumberyard. But there's no house there. If you had 2x4s, doors, windows, roofing, all kinds of things, and you had that on a vacant lot, and somebody said, what are they going to do there? Well, anybody could tell you, they're going to build a house. Well, a lot of you have a 401k and a 403b, and you have some, you think you're content in that, but you don't have a blueprint that addresses income, inflation, investment, taxes. How are we going to deal with all the taxes getting that money out? Because if you've got $800,000 in an IRA, you do not have $800,000. You've got something less than that, because you can't spend those dollars unless they go through the U.S. tax system. That's what we do when we build for you a retirement blueprint. But you've got to pick up the phone. That's all the effort you've got to do right now. Pick up the phone, 866-709-1462. Give us a call. Get on our schedule. We're pushed out right now. And sometimes if you call, you get a busy signal and they might call you back, but you need to continue to call because we just get a lot of calls. But we do have time on our schedule to see a few new people right now. Call us. We'll set up a time for you to come into our closest office to you, and we'll go over starting to build from your lumberyard a retirement blueprint for you.
Even if you have all the pieces, without a blueprint or an architect, you would never build a home that would stand. So retirement is that home. You need to make sure that you take that first step and call Mosley Wealth Management. Now we'll be right back, more with Tom Mosley and how you can retire right on the money.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. We call him the professor, as I've said many times, because he teaches us all so much about our retirement and our money, our hard-earned money. We're talking about risk this week. We've talked about different types of risk. What about systemic risk? What does that mean, Tom?
It means you're using maybe a system that's not best. You
Okay.
know, for instance, let's take the four-letter word annuities. One of the reasons people do hate annuities is a 20-year-old, my 44-year-old daughter who has a really good job in Des Moines, Iowa, recently was talking to a financial advisor at church, and he was saying, hey, you need to go into an annuity. When you're 44 or 34 or 24 for income, you don't need an annuity. You need a job, a job, and you just need that regular income coming in. The annuity makes a lot of sense for the advisor at that age. But when you graduate from working into retirement, I always call it a graduation, and you take that step and you walk out the door, you don't have the paycheck anymore. And so how are you going to guarantee that? Well, if you leave it, like we've said earlier in this show, if you just leave it in the market like you've always done, and that is so easy to do. It's muscle memory. Have you ever done something the same way all the time, and then you did something a little bit different, and it's like, whoa, I hurt there. And it wasn't that you strained, it wasn't that you picked up 25 pounds or 30 pounds. I remember one time reaching back to one of my grandchildren. They were sitting behind me. We were on a little riser at a ball game, and they said, the Coke is 2 seats behind you. And I just reached back the wrong way. I don't want to do it because I don't want to hurt myself. And picked up a Coke can, and it hurt me because of the way I was, the muscle memory. Well, here's what I mean. You've got a system from the time you're 25 of 401k, 401k Roth, IRA, save money. It's a great system. It is a great system. It's the best system. But you put that money away, and then you get to be 62, 63, 65, and you walk out the retirement door, you're not putting the money away anymore. The goal is not to grow your lump sum anymore. The goal is to make sure that you have guaranteed increasing income for as long as you live. How long are you going to live? I mean, you know, if people come in and they tell us the exact date they're going to pass away, we can build that perfect plan. Otherwise, we have to strategize in such a way to make sure that the income is there for as long as you live. A 401k will not do that. An IRA will not do that. If you are with one of the big box firms, Blank Investments, and you either call them or you go down to one of their stores and you knock on the door, go in to talk to someone and say, I'm 81 years old, I ran out of money last year, but I'm still here. Can you pay me something? Can you give me something? They're going to say, just a minute. Hello, police department?
Yeah,
We've got
I was going to say security.
Yeah, that's right. We've got somebody here. The system you've used all along will not take you well into retirement in most cases. Now, if you hit this, it's called sequence risk. If you hit the right sequence and we have 5 years of upswing right after you retire, great. But if we have a downturn like we're in right now or like we've had, and you hit the wrong sequence, you can run out of money very quickly in retirement, regardless almost of what you have. I do a little presentation in the 4-hour class of $1 million. If you hit the right sequence, like 1996, at the end of 18 years, you've got almost $2 million and you've spent $1 million. But if you hit the wrong system, like 1999, you hit the wrong time, the sequence, then you could be out of money in 17 years.
Wow.
And you do the same exact thing. So the system you've always used doesn't serve you well. And I can show you this. Remember that cute little shirt that your kid wore when they were 7 years old? You loved it. You might have even put it in the cedar chest. We've got some like that. But if my kids put that shirt on right now, it wouldn't look right. It doesn't
right.
fit. You've got to change the system you're using. You've got to address the different issues. Now, I look at it, again, with buckets, but you always need an emergency bucket. You always, I believe, if you're going to live a long time, need money in the market at your risk level. When you're working, you have your income coming in from your job. But when you retire, you have to build then from the assets you've created. You have to build a system that addresses income. And you can do it two ways. You can do it at risk. And one way to do it is, and we have a lot of clients who choose this way, because we don't make the decision for you. We give you the options. You can put 2 to 4, one client even likes to have 5 years of income in the bucket. She's taking $3,000 out a month. And so what we did, we put $25,000 of her money into that income bucket. It's real conservative. She just takes that $3,000 out. And this growth bucket that we still got in the market, what we do when we have a good year, not last year, but what we do when we have a good year is, and it grows like 3 times it's grown in the last 8 years, 20%, we replenish the income bucket in a good year. In a bad year, we just let that stay so it can grow back. It's our growth bucket. It's our long-term bucket. And this is our 2 to 4 to 5 year bucket. So you can set up that bucket, or a lot of clients choose to see the wisdom of now using an annuity, a fixed indexed annuity that will pay you guaranteed increasing income for as long as you live, and for those of you who are married, for as long as your spouse lives. No other vehicle. That big box firm, that the IRA that you have, they're going to call the police, but even after you run out of money in your IRA, they are still going to pay you an increasing income for the rest of your life. That's the insurance part of it that nobody gives them credit, because their name is blank investments. That's about all they understand, so they hate that insurance product that can guarantee you that. You might not. But to give it a fair choice, you've got to have somebody give you the options of one way or the other, rather than just staying the status quo is so easy. That's staying with the same system. What we're asking you to do is build structure in your retirement plan. Call us, 866-709-1462. We can show you what a retirement blueprint will look like for you, and then you can decide.
Absolutely, and once you decide, it will really be a life changer. Take that first step. Get your retirement house in order. You deserve it. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for being with us.